By 1950, the majority of employees in the advanced countries were industrial workers from one end of the world to the other. But by 1960, the industrial age was over, and we had entered into the service age. There were more people delivering services than there were in manufacturing. By the late 70s, we had entered into the information age, and as we go into the 21st century, we are already in the communications age. There are more people employed now in some form of communication of information, ideas, entertainment, news, or education than there are employed in any other single industry. We've gone from muscle power to mind power, from brute power to brain power. For the rest of your life, the knowledge content of everything you do is going to determine the quality and quantity of value that you contribute to your work and to your life. According to Moore's law, information processing capacity doubles every 18 months and drops in half in cost at the same time. What this means is really quite incredible. If the cost of a new Lexus automobile had kept pace with the cost of computing capacity, a new Lexus today would cost $2, get 700 miles from a gallon of gas, and travel at 500 miles per hour. In fact, a new Lexus today has more computer systems in it than the Apollo 13, which was the most advanced moon rocket of its time. In a new automobile today, more money is spent on electronics than on steel. We've moved into the information age with knowledge as the primary source of value, so fast that most of the major institutions of society have not yet caught up or caught on. A friend of mine has a company that increased its sales from $1 million to $10 million per year over a period of 5 years and tripled its profits at the same time. Its bank then cut off its line of credit, categorizing the company as a high-risk organization. Why? Because the company had extremely high volume, but it had not increased its fixed assets, its furniture, buildings, cars, computers, and so on, at the same speed that it had increased its growth. Financial institutions today, banks especially, are completely baffled at the fact that a $100 million factory can be rendered obsolete with a change in technology in as little as 18 months. But brain power can be used in an infinite number of ways and in an infinite number of directions to create wealth with virtually no investment at all in fixed assets. When a financial institution today asks for collateral, they have no way of measuring the fact that the most valuable assets of the company are between the ears of the people who work there. The entire organization could burn to the ground tomorrow, and the brain power could walk across the street and start over again in a matter of a few hours. In the old days, just a few decades ago, if a factory burned down, it was out of business, and sometimes an entire community would collapse. Today, that's no longer possible. You've heard of the winning edge concept. This concept, one of the most important ideas of the 20th century, says that small differences in knowledge and ability can lead to enormous differences in results. One small piece of information that you have that your competitors lack can be all that it takes for you to gain the winning edge in any transaction. For example, if a horse runs in a horse race and comes in first by a nose, it wins 10 times as much as the horse that comes in second by a nose. Does this mean that the horse that wins is 10 times faster? Twice as fast? 10% faster? No. The horse that wins is only a nose faster, but a nose translates into 10 times the prize money. When a salesperson or a company gets the sale or transaction in a competitive market, it is often only a tiny bit better than the company that loses it. But the company that wins the transaction gets 100% of the sale, 100% of the profit, and the salesperson gets 100% of the commission. Is the company or salesperson 100% better than the company or salesperson who loses the deal? No. The company or salesperson has merely developed the winning edge, and that makes all the difference. There's a lot of talk today about insecurity in the labor force. People are being laid off by the tens of thousands, and this trend will continue with massive layoffs every year for as long as you're in the workforce. The reason is that knowledge is doubling every 2 to 3 years. You could take all the knowledge accumulated in human history from every country and in every form and put it into a huge pile. And 3 years from now, at most, there would be another pile of new knowledge equal to or greater than the first pile. And knowledge multiplies times itself. Every new piece of knowledge can be combined and recombined with other pieces of knowledge to create more knowledge. So instead of knowledge increasing at a mathematical rate in a steady progression, it is increasing at an exponential rate, faster and faster. By early in the 21st century, knowledge will be doubling every year. This means that today your knowledge must double every 2 to 3 years just for you to stay even at your current income in your current field of work. If your knowledge is not increasing at the same speed that general knowledge is increasing in your field, you will be in great danger of becoming obsolete. The reason people are laid off is that companies need new forms of knowledge, and they need more knowledgeable people in newer, more specialized areas. Just as AT&T is announcing the layoffs of tens of thousands of people, it is announcing the hiring of tens of thousands of people in different positions with different knowledge, performing different tasks. A key luck factor is the law of integrative complexity. This law says that in every group of individuals, the individual who can integrate the greatest number of pieces of information will rise and eventually dominate all the other individuals within that group. To put it another way, the law of integrative complexity says that the more knowledge and experience a person has, the more patterns he or she can recognize and take action upon in any given set of circumstances. The person with the greatest pattern recognition ability will always rise to the top of any organization of value because his or her judgment and contribution will be of greater value and have greater impact on other people and on the organization than anyone else. In its simplest terms, the top salespeople tend to remain the top salespeople. Why? Because they've worked many weeks, many months, and years to become more and more knowledgeable and skilled at selling ever more competitive products to ever more sophisticated and demanding customers. As a result, like runners gaining an edge and increasing it as the race goes on, the top salespeople pull ahead, and often way ahead of their competitors, by being exposed to more and more patterns in more and more complex and varied sales. This enables them to sell more and more. You've heard it said that nothing succeeds like success. Well, this is what happens in virtually every competitive field. With the rapid expansion of knowledge in your field and your world, your existing store of knowledge is becoming obsolete at a more rapid rate than ever before. If you were to take a trip around the world in a catamaran and be gone for a year or two, when you got back, you would find that 30%, 40%, or even 50% of all the knowledge that you had accumulated that justified your salary and position in your business before you left was no longer valid or of any use anymore. Some fields have rates of knowledge obsolescence that are far faster and greater than others. For example, on the slow side, the knowledge of a historian or librarian, slow-changing fields, may take 10 or 20 years or even longer to become obsolete. However, the knowledge of a stockbroker of prices, market positions, interest rates, economic dynamics, and so on may become completely obsolete in a few weeks or even a few days. One significant political event can so affect opinion polls as to make all of the accumulated knowledge of how an election is going to turn out obsolete overnight and create a whole new ballgame. An important luck factor is the rule that the future belongs to the competent. The future does not belong to the well-meaning, the sincere, or the merely ambitious. It belongs to those who are very, very good at what they do. There's an old saying that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Today, however, it is not a contest between those who have more and those who have less. It is a competition between those who know more and those who know less. The most significant differences in income in America are between those who have continually increased their levels of knowledge and skill and those who have not.